The go sign record. There we go. Well, welcome to our February session of GSA's Client Enrichment Series. My name is James Fotopoulos, and I will be your host today. I am a Regional Account Manager from PBS Region 6 out of Kansas City, and it's my pleasure to participate in today's presentation. Today's presentation titled PBS's Boost Procurement Efficiency with Lease Offer Platform is presented by Sophie Holmes and Heather Weaver. This session will be recorded and put on our Client Enrichment Series website as well as our YouTube playlist. And just to give you a little background about our speakers, Sophie Holmes is a program analyst with the Center for Lease Applications and Analysis in GSA's Office of Leasing. She joined GSA in August 2017 through a Pathways program, and she joined the Office of Leasing in May of 2019. Sophie now works closely with both the Automated Advanced Acquisition Platform, otherwise known as AAAP, and the Required Specific Acquisition Platform, otherwise known as RSAP. Heather Weaver is a program analyst for the Center for Lease Applications and Analysis in PBS's Office of Leasing. She was directly hired to the Office of Leasing in August of 2016 through the recent Graduates Emerging Leaders Program. Prior to working at GSA, Heather has worked at DFAS, Defense Finance and Accounting, Veterans Affairs, and she served in the United States Army over 7 years. Heather now works as a proud member of the Automated Advanced Acquisition Platform, otherwise known as AAAP. Before I turn the presentation over to our presenters, I'd like to share a few housekeeping instructions. We have automatically muted your audio to help us control the sound quality of the presentation. If you have a question during the presentation, please use the chat pane located on the right side of your screen. Type your question or comment in the box where it can be viewed by your fellow attendees and our team. We hope to encourage an interactive dialogue using this feature as well as try to address as many questions as possible during the session today. If you prefer to suppress the chat feature and you want a full view of the screen, you can click on the four-headed arrow at the upper right-hand corner of your presentation share screen to maximize the slides on your screen. Should you have a question or comment, you can toggle right back to the chat pane by hovering over that upper right-hand corner of your screen and select the four-headed arrow again, and then bounce back to the chat pane. We will do our best to answer all your questions today, but if we run out of time, all questions will be captured in a formal Q&A document sent to all participants prior to our next presentation. In about 3 weeks after the session, the slide deck, session recording, and Q&A documents will be posted to our website at www.gsa.gov/CES. With that, I will be handing over the presentation to Sophie and Heather. Take it away.
Hello, everyone. Today, we will give you an overview of GSA leasing and how our online tools, housed in the Lease Offer platform, expedite the lease acquisition process. Then, we will go into more detail about our tools, the Requirement-Specific Acquisition Platform, which just launched last year, and the Automated Advanced Acquisition Program. We will pause a couple of times to answer any questions you might have. To begin, let's back up and I'll tell you a little about the largest real estate owner in the United States, the U.S. General Services Administration. GSA is an independent agency of the United States government, established in 1949 to help manage and support the basic functioning of the government, which includes leasing space for federal agencies so that government employees have space to perform their work. Today, GSA is also the largest tenant in the United States, with a lease portfolio of more than 8,000 leases, and is continuously fulfilling space requirements for you, our client agencies, across the country. Each year, GSA's regional offices plan for the government's leasing needs by looking at the expiring lease inventory and new agency space requirements in the pipeline. Through this process, GSA determines which lease procurement method is most suitable for each acquisition. Examples of these methods include traditional managed in-house, traditional utilizing a GSA broker, and the AAAP. The tools under the Lease Offer platform, which you are here today to learn more about, facilitate all of these procurement methods. With thousands of projects to manage in the next few years, it's imperative for GSA to leverage our online tools to create greater efficiencies, gain capacity to manage more projects, and ultimately replace leases. The Lease Offer platform is the website that houses our two online leasing tools, the Automated Advanced Acquisition Program platform and the Requirement-Specific Acquisition platform. Both platforms employ online workflows and accept offers electronically from building owners and their representatives. They perform data validation checks to make sure offers are complete, and in some cases, use logic to help catch errors. While there are similarities, AAAP and RSAP are different. RSAP does not change the traditional leasing process from the client agency's point of view, although the streamlined workflow should result in noticeable efficiencies in the schedule. Instead of emails, notes, phone calls, and snail mail offer packages, the offer submission process is centralized in an online platform. The RSAP collects offers and organizes these offers for a specific requirement defined by a custom request for lease proposal, or RLP package, and ultimately results in a single award. The RSAP leverages negotiations with the offerors to realize competitive market rates, and the RSAP can facilitate multiple iterations of offers as a result of those negotiations. This means that the platform allows offerors to submit initial, revised, and ultimately final offers as offerors work with GSA's leasing team. Additionally, the RSAP can accommodate any lease term requirement. The AAAP workflow, on the other hand, changes the traditional leasing process. It starts with the creation of one generic request for lease proposals package that allows for the collection of advanced offers for office space and allows the GSA leasing team to task projects to the program in order to quickly select, evaluate, and award from those advanced offers. The result is a procurement tool that can produce multiple awards from one RLP and possibly produce multiple awards for one offer in the system. The AAAP leverages competition to realize competitive market rates and requires offers to submit final proposals upon submission. And unlike the RSAP, the AAAP allows for 3 specific lease terms: a 10-year lease term with 8 years firm, a 15-year lease term with 13 years firm, and a 17-year lease term with 15 years firm. So if your project is tasked to the AAAP, your term will need to align with one of these options. So now let's dig deeper into the requirement-specific acquisition platform. Remember, RSAP facilitates GSA's traditional leasing process. To quickly review what our traditional leasing process entails, here's a quick summary. The process begins when a requirement for leased space is received by GSA. The LCO on the project will then determine which acquisition method is best suited to meet the needs of the project, and oftentimes has predetermined this, as we've planned for most projects that are expiring in the next 2 to 3 years. Next, the procurement team will post an ad to collect expressions of interest and conduct a market survey with the client agency present. When this is complete, the team will issue a solicitation in the form of an RLP, a request for lease proposals, that will outline how offerors are to submit their space to the government. And this is where the RSAP comes in. The RSAP is an external online tool that facilitates data gathering, form population, and a present value analysis of offers. The RSAP also allows for iterative offer collection that is the result of negotiations and discussions with the offeror. Those details are captured in RSAP and time-stamped for easy retrieval. Currently, the RSAP is used for global lease requirements. Our global lease combines language from several past lease models into one standard, comprehensive model to allow LCOs greater flexibility. We intend to accommodate additional lease types in the future. The introduction of the RSAP does not create changes to the traditional leasing process. In other words, any procurement that collects offers via the RSAP will follow the same process that you are used to with an LCO or broker. Remember, because the RSAP is a market-facing platform, you as a client agency will not interact with it. Although our client agencies do not interact with the RSAP, there are benefits you should notice. RSAP is strategically positioned to reduce the cycle time for lease acquisition and thereby deliver time efficiencies to your agency. It does this by reducing offer errors and administrative hassle by creating an intuitive workflow and central platform for all offer information. It also reduces the costs associated with traditional wait times and staff time needed to prepare and transmit offer information. The RSAP brings us further into the digital age, reducing the amount of paper we use. The RSAP workflow walks offerors through all the required offer information needed and performs checks to let them know when their package is complete, hopefully reducing the familiar back and forth with offers to fix errors and omissions. Speaking of the offers workflow, this is a sample of what it looks like. After an offeror has created an account on our platform and entered the GSA-provided solicitation number associated with the procurement they're responding to, the offer process follows a series of pages. As offerors enter their information into the platform, certain GSA leasing forms are auto-populated based on their inputs. In this example, as the offeror is inputting their operating costs into the RSAP workflow on the left side of the screen, the workflow helps to calculate operating costs for the whole building and the space being offered. And on the right side of the screen, the system outputs a Form 1217 that the LCO will review. At the end of the workflow, offerors upload additional attachments to their offer, such as their floor plan, proof of ownership, etc., which are sent along with the auto-generated forms upon submission. GSA receives these time-stamped forms and begins to evaluate them. The system also produces a draft present value calculator for the GSA leasing team to work from. If offerors wish to revise their offers after discussions with GSA, they will return to the RSAP to make those updates and resubmit their offer. If offerors have questions about the workflow or platform, those of us here on GSA's RSAP team handle them and address any technical issues that may arise. Offerors can also find help resources, such as user guides and frequently asked questions, on the help section of the platform. In the future, we will also have help video tutorials available to further assist the market. In summary, the RSAP is a new online offer platform that is built to create efficiencies that benefit your project schedules. Our client agencies should not notice a difference to the process as there are no process changes. The GSA lease contracting officer will make the decision whether or not to use the RSAP. If you are intrigued by the value the RSAP delivers, don't hesitate to encourage your GSA leasing team to use RSAP. And if RSAP is used, the market should take notice of the language in the RLP package, which will spell out the online submission process. RSAP expedites the collection of initial, revised, and final proposals from offerors to complete GSA's traditional lease procurement process. RSAP collects offer information to auto-populate GSA forms, and all offer attachments are also uploaded and date-stamped by the RSAP. In the end, RSAP improves the exchange of offer information, reduces errors and omissions, and creates greater efficiency. So that ends my section of the presentation. Before I pass it along to Heather for more details about the AAAP, let's see if there are any questions about the information I just covered.
Hey, Sophie, it's James. I don't see any questions out there, so I think you're good to go.
Okay, great. Now we're going to shift gears to talk about the other half of the lease offer platform, which is the Automated Advanced Acquisition Program. The AAAP is a program that augments our traditional processes as defined in Leasing Desk Guide Chapter 22, and, similar to RSAP, AAAP uses a platform that is accessible to the market and facilitates an online workflow. The AAAP was developed in the early 90s when GSA noticed that we were creating custom procurements for very similar projects for what we like to call vanilla office space. GSA saw an opportunity to create some efficiencies, and the AAAP was born. As we go through the following slides, I will point out the unique components of the program and how it differs from RSAP. As Sophie mentioned, the RSAP follows the traditional or typical lease process. As you all heard, RSAP delivers value by centralizing the traditional offer collection process to an online platform. The AAAP is different. It begins with one RLP that can be used to collect advance offers across the country, and the same RLP can be used to address multiple projects with office space needs. The advanced development of the AAAP, RLP, and collection of offers allows the GSA leasing team to quickly identify a list of competitive offers for a project, evaluate those offers, and proceed to award with the lowest price offer. For this reason, AAAP is known as a multiple award platform. It's also important to note that the AAAP, RLP, and Lease are modeled off of GSA's global lease documents. And the AAAP documents contain all of GSA's minimum requirements that you're used to accommodate the delivery of professional office space. The variations to our global documents are noted in the RLP and Lease as AAAP variations in the table of contents in clause headers. The AAAP is also unique in that we do not engage in negotiations or discussions with the offerors. Instead, we leverage competition in the market to drive competitive rates. This requirement for competitive offers is made clear to our offerors in the RLP Section 3.02, which reads, submitted offers in the AAAP application at the end of the open period shall be considered final proposal revisions by the government. We also use the solicitation provisions, alternate 2, which has text that reads, the government intends to evaluate proposals and award a lease without discussions with offerors except clarifications as described in FAR 15.306A. Therefore, the offeror's initial proposal should contain the offeror's best terms for a cost or price and technical standpoint. The strategy to use competition to drive competitive rates has proven its ability to realize low rates in the market. In addition to the advanced RLP development, the AAAP also requires a project-specific advertisement for each project tasked to AAAP. When a project-specific ad is posted, the market has a second chance to fine-tune their offer before final offers are due.
The information contained in the project-specific ad will also be used to evaluate and determine an offeror's eligibility. As stated in the RLP, these ads are incorporated into the RLP by reference. Information contained in the ad will tell the market your delineated area, the range of above square feet needed, the tenant improvement allowance and building-specific amortized capital needed for both new and incumbent offers, and include your go, no-go criteria. Go, no-go criteria are typically items like co-location, adjacency requirements, or characteristics of the building that can't be addressed by the TI allowance or BSAC. Examples of the building's characteristics we can exclude are requirements for space on a certain floor or requirements where an agency cannot be located in a building that has unsecured underground parking. Bottom line, the RLP and project-specific ad ensure that AAAP is going to deliver a space that meets GSA's minimum requirements and your go, no-go criteria. The AAAP also automates the present value evaluation to quickly identify the lowest price offeror. As I indicated earlier, that present value evaluation can include a modified TI for incumbents if a full TI build-out is not anticipated. Also included in that evaluation are move, telecommunication, and replication costs. Your GSA leasing team will work with you to make sure that we're representing the anticipated costs that would occur if you needed to move, so we can most accurately identify whether a move is in the client agency's best interest. Finally, the due diligence process for AAAP is modified to make good use of everyone's time. When an apparent lowest price offer is identified, your leasing team will work with that offeror to review the requirements and confirm that they are compliant with GSA's minimum requirements and any go, no-go criteria listed in the advertisement. The leasing team's goal is to get as much certainty as possible that the lowest price offer will work prior to engaging with the client agency. If the lowest price offer is considered deficient or is uninterested in pursuing the lease, the leasing team will move to the next lowest price offer. In the most streamlined scenario, the LCO will then take the client agency on a tour of that one building. If the client agency signs off on the building tour form, the GSA leasing team will proceed to complete due diligence and ultimately award. If a deficiency is noted by the agency and that deficiency can't be fixed, the GSA team will proceed to the next lowest price offer on the list. You probably noticed that we didn't talk about a market survey because we don't do advanced tours of buildings with our client agencies in an effort to save time. We do the building tour after a lowest price offer has been identified instead. The theory here is, why waste your time looking at a bunch of buildings that might not submit? But if you have interest in a particular building submitting for your project, please reach out to your GSA leasing team and they will include them in their market outreach. The Leasing Desk Guide, Chapter 22 states that the project team should limit the building tour to just the building with the lowest price offer where at all possible. There are, however, circumstances where limiting the tour to one building is not practical. So for example, if you're using traveling funds to take a team to another location, it wouldn't be a good use of your time to look at just one building, especially if you identify that building as deficient. Therefore, your LCO can pre-screen multiple buildings and schedule a multiple building tour. In this scenario, that LCO will not reveal the lowest price offer, but will ask you to complete the building tour form, noting any deficiencies that are justified by the RLP, lease, or agency's go, no-go criteria. Once all complete building tour forms are collected, the LCO will reveal the lowest price technically acceptable offer that you'll be proceeding with. So why are we using the AAAP? As we noted earlier, there are thousands of projects expiring at any given time that we're preparing for today. It's neither practical or possible for GSA to put all projects through the traditional leasing processes. As you know, that process takes a lot of time, and the AAAP will often produce the same results. Additionally, like many of our client agencies, we have a growing workload with limited resources. So AAAP is one strategy for addressing your immediate needs while increasing our ability to replace more leases. By tasking to AAAP, LCOs can produce a favorable outcome 3 to 4 months earlier on average compared to the traditional process and move on to other projects. Ultimately, the LCO makes the decision on the procurement method with respect to your requirement in their full portfolio of work. If your project is tasked to AAAP, the LCO should be working with you to understand their choice. As you can see from the bar chart on this page, strategic use of the AAAP has grown in the last 6 years. You'll notice FY18 exceeded our expectations because AAAP handled 185 office space projects for the 2020 census. From time to time, we hear that AAAP isn't working for specific projects, and we appreciate the feedback. We always want to make sure the projects we're tasking to AAAP meet the office space criteria outlined in the Leasing Desk Guide, Chapter 22. If the project is for warehouse or lab space, AAAP is not an appropriate procurement vehicle. But AAAP can address advanced office space requirements using TI. In the past, we've addressed sally ports, weapon storage, holding cells, and high-capacity floor using the AAAP. In other cases, AAAP has been appropriately chosen as the procurement method, but we learned that the delineated area is restricting competition, or there isn't enough inventory in the market meeting certain elements of your requirement. If this is the case, the GSA leasing team should be working with you to figure out what changes might need to be made to enhance competition or better fit with the market. In the end, we always ask ourselves how changing procurement methods will change the outcome. To sum everything up, AAAP has proven its benefits. Hopefully, you've heard how advanced RLP development, collection of offers through an online workflow, automated evaluation, and streamlined due diligence contribute to reduced cycle time, saving 3 to 4 months on average off of traditional lease process. The GSA leasing team strategically tasked projects to the AAAP to immediately address your needs while managing a portfolio of other projects for our client agencies. Offers submitted to the AAAP remain in the system throughout the year, so one offer can be considered for multiple projects, improving the inventory our leasing teams have to choose from. We spoke about how AAAP leverages competition and a final proposal submission process to realize competitive offers. The AAAP improves customer satisfaction by delivering space according to the agency requirements on scope, often faster than traditional procurement methods, on time, and at competitive rates on budget. And finally, AAAP improves the market's ability to engage with GSA by offering an easily accessible online tool and intuitive workflow. As Sophie previously mentioned, you can visit our website, lop.gsa.gov, to explore the resources available to the market. If you have program-specific questions, please feel free to contact us at lop.manager@gsa.gov. For any project-specific questions, please reach out to your GSA leasing team. This concludes our presentation, and thank you for participating in this client enrichment series for RSAP and AAAP. I'll now pass it to Robert to help us out with any questions we may have received.
Thank you so much, Heather and Sophie. So I see a lot of questions coming in, and I'll do my best to answer them. And if I don't answer them to the extent, feel free to reach out to us, and I'm glad to follow up with you afterwards. So try to take them best I can as they're coming in. So RSAP is not a solicitation developing software. No, neither RSAP or AAAP are used to develop solicitations. It's just used to receive offers. Did the RSAP platform just roll out recently? Yes, it came out within the last year. We started using it this last fiscal year, which started back in October. So yes, it is recent. Is RSAP being used now for all in-house traditional procurements? It's not being used for all of them. Right now, it's only being used for the global lease model. However, we are looking to expand to the other lease models in the future. So things like on airport or warehouse space, things along those lines, we're not using RSAP for that yet. All right. Is it easy to save lease documents in other systems for the lease file? Yes, that is the entire intent behind the RSAP. When offers are submitted and the documents are created, they're transferred to our system of record internally, so it makes it a lot easier and more streamlined rather than negotiating through email and trying to track the documents that way. All right, here's another one. How are late proposals handled? The same way they would be handled in a normal lease procurement. There's nothing different there. The one difference would be that RSAP, because it is an online system, it would allow you to basically stop receiving new offers at a given point in time. Let's see here. Does the AAAP system check if an offer has an active SAM registration? No, it does not automatically do that. That is still something we would do on our end. Let's see. I'm assuming this one's about AAAP. Is a physical market survey conducted? Are locations inspected before offers are received? No, and that is part of that's by design in the AAAP. The way that it works is that we receive offers and then evaluate them, so we're only going to inspect the lowest priced offer, or in some instances multiple building tours, but the idea being rather than spending time looking at buildings that may or may not meet the requirements or may not submit, we're spending our time focusing on the one best offer that comes in. How long does RSAP retain documents? RSAP itself is not actually retaining documents. It is just the portal that allows us to receive the offers in. It creates the documents which are then transported to our system of record. Will they be retained indefinitely? Is the AAAP used for all leasing projects, etc., such as new and succeeding? AAAP is only used for new and new replacing lease procurements. We do not use it for succeeding or extensions. The idea being that this is a full and open procurement, so if we're doing something that's a non-competitive procurement process, we would not utilize AAAP for that. Is RSAP fitted for prospectus level projects? Yes, it is capable of doing that, and we will be using it for that. I say I have a question here about SAM registration again. It'd be nice if the system would direct offers to SAM to get registered. It actually does do that. We do have language in there specifically tells them they need to go ahead and register in SAM, or otherwise they will not be eligible for a reward. So I think we do actually link to it from the helper text within the system. We also make it very clear in our RLP documents as well, but we'll make sure that we probably make that a little bit more prominent since that's become an issue as of late. All right. I think I captured all the questions that came in so far. Are there additional questions you'd like to have me answer? And of course, if you can't think of them today, you can always submit them to us and we'll get a response right back to you. So this is not your only opportunity to ask questions.
Thanks, Robert. I think you knocked out a lot of questions there in the chat, so appreciate that. Let's see. I think we're getting a couple more questions. One is, how much does it cost?
It is free. That is a very good question. I want to point that out. You do not have to pay to register for AAAP or SAP, and anyone who's trying to charge you to do so otherwise is telling you incorrectly. This is free to the taxpayer to go ahead and submit their offers to us.
All right, Robert, thanks. Before I close this out, we do have if we go to the next slide, the last slide of this presentation. While we're doing that, I'm going to ask Sophie, Heather, Robert, is there anything else you'd like to mention before I close this out?
No, that was it. Thank you for having us. We really appreciate the platform to be able to tell you about our SAP and AAAP. Thank you again.
Yeah, we're really glad to be here. Thank you for having us today.
Thank you.
And if there's any other questions, like I said, we do have, we'll keep this chat running for a little bit, so if you have any questions, feel free and put those in, and we'll put those in a Q&A document. First of all, I'd like to thank our group of presenters today, Sophie, Heather, and Robert, for answering questions. Great presentation. Had a lot of conversation around both of those lease vehicles. I'd like to thank all of our clients who are able to join today. We will post today's presentation, a YouTube closed caption video, as well as a formal Q&A document for future reference on our website at www.gsa.gov/CES. Our next CES session will be on our e-RETA system. That's taking place on March 10th and April 14th of this year. Also, you want to mark your calendars for the 2020 National PBS Customer Forum. This is an opportunity for customers to come visit us at GSA. This is an all-day in-person event and providing government real estate professionals with the opportunity to hear directly from GSA leadership and PBS subject matter experts on a number of topics relevant to the efficient management of your real property portfolios. Among this year's highlights, we'll have roundtable discussions with GSA and PBS leadership, updates on PBS new RWA fee structure, pricing policy, and you'll get to network with federal real estate colleagues and PBS customer leads. Registration for this forum will be open in early spring. If you have any questions, please email at the box at pbsforums@gsa.gov or contact your PBS customer lead. If you go out to our YouTube videos, please give us a like and turn on notifications so you'll never miss an upload or subscription to our site as well is also recommended. We will also send you this information in a follow-up email message before our next presentation in the series. With that, the goal of the Client Enrichment series is to engage our audience in workplace topics that can contribute to mission success and effective management of your real estate and workplace programs. Thank you again and have a great rest of your day.